Joining me now is Republican Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming. Senator, thanks so much for coming back to the program.
Great to be with you. Happy birthday. It was in Playbook this morning. You were the lead story, so it has to be true.
Well, that's very kind of you. I'm not counting anymore, just to be clear, and I won't be challenged on those numbers.
Good.
Let's start, if we can, on the stimulus. I'm sure you're aware of the polling. New CNN poll out today shows 73% of Republicans here, not the public, but Republicans, favor the larger tax credits in the stimulus bill. 55% of Republicans favor money to return to the classroom. 55% again of Republicans favor sending out stimulus checks. I just wonder, given that public support there, why not a single Republican vote for this stimulus bill?
Well, you know, this is basically a liberal wish list, and the Republicans I talked to in Wyoming this past weekend are very disturbed that we're adding $1.9 trillion to the debt. So I think the more that people hear about what's actually in this, and that only 9% of the money go to coronavirus relief, I think the less popular this is going to be as time goes on. When they hear about
you know that
the
9% figure, Senator, is misleading, right? Because a large portion of it goes to relief for the economic consequences, right, of the pandemic, including the stimulus checks and other aid. So 9% doesn't reflect exactly where this is, the portion of this bill that is going to the economic consequences of the pandemic.
Well, don't forget that so much of this money, even for education, doesn't even start going out till long after the pandemic is gone. It doesn't start going out till 2022. And look, it didn't have to be this way. We've had 5 bipartisan coronavirus bills passed, signed into law. 10 Republicans went to the White House to visit with President Biden, and basically his staff kept shaking their head no. And this has gone in strict party lines, which is regrettable. You'd want to find ways to work together with a new president coming into office. We don't have this now, and it's a result of the way this has been done. We want to help people truly get back to work and kids get back to school and put the disease behind us. We have a wonderful vaccine. There's a better way to do this.
Let me ask you about the deficit, because you bring up the cost of this, and that is right, $1.9 trillion. But it's notable that the Trump and Republican tax cuts passed again through reconciliation in 2017 by the estimates both of the nonpartisan Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, but also the CBO, that it added exactly the same amount or in the same range to the deficit. So why the willingness to add to the deficit for tax cuts, but not for economic relief?
Well, you know that revenue actually went up as a result of the tax cuts and the regulatory relief that we've had under Republicans and under President Trump. But spending actually went up.
Not in terms of how much it contributed to the deficit.
Spending went up more than income came in. Income went up by about 3%. Spending went up by 7%. We have a big spending problem in this country, a lot of Washington wasteful spending that we need to get under control. And both parties have not been able to do that to the degree that's necessary in the long-term best interests of our country.
Let me ask you about infrastructure, if I can, because that's next up on the Biden agenda. And this is one of those issues that under Trump, too, right, both parties talk about supporting money going to infrastructure. Is there a figure, is there a plan that you believe Biden could propose that would get Republican votes?
Well, in terms of infrastructure, I chaired the committee in the last Congress, in the Senate, the Environment and Public Works Committee. We successfully, in a bipartisan way, came out with a highway bill, passed unanimously from the committee. I voted for it. Bernie Sanders voted for it. We sent it to the House. The House ignored it, and they said, no, we're going to do the Green New Deal instead. So part is the price, but the other are the priorities and what goes into the policy. So I think you have a really willing group of people who want to work together in a bipartisan way. But I just have to tell you, Jim, it doesn't help bipartisanship when Chuck Schumer goes on Anderson Cooper, as he did last night, and attacks the most bipartisan member of the United States Senate, who is Susan Collins, attacked her by name and essentially said she was responsible for 5 years of a recession under President Obama. I mean, that's not a way to work together with people or find common ground solutions. I hope President Biden speaks out and opposes what Chuck Schumer has said about Susan Collins. I'll tell you, she has a spine of steel. She's a hard worker. She's not going to be bullied or bribed by Chuck Schumer, and that doesn't work in the way he does politics in his own caucus.
Well, to be fair, as we're sitting here waiting for a vote on stimulus, there's another Republican, motion to adjourn, right, to delay the final vote when the votes are there. I mean, I think you could say that the failure for bipartisanship, that both parties probably share some of that blame. I do want to ask you about the party itself, because you're a member of GOP leadership. As you know, Trump is now demanding that campaign donations go to his PAC, Political Action Committee, over the RNC. And there's even a battle between Trump and the RNC over whether the RNC could use his name to fundraise. I just wonder, is that good from your perch for the Republican Party?
Well, the thing that's really uniting the Republican Party right now is the Biden administration and Biden policies. What we see happening at the border is uniting Republicans. What Biden has done with his executive orders in terms of energy and jobs and the economy, the fact that gasoline prices are up 60 cents a gallon, those are the things that are going to continue to unite Republicans as we focus on the 2022 elections, which I think is going to be a very good year for Republicans.
I noted you did not say that President Trump is uniting the Republican Party. Is he? Is he uniting or dividing it?
Well, he is a very influential member of the party. I mean, nobody can get the crowd on their feet like President Trump can and will continue to do. I'm saying the single uniting factor is our opposition to the sort of things that Joe Biden is doing with spending, with the crisis at the border. I know his administration doesn't want to call it that, but that's exactly what is going on there. And the jobs that are being lost in American energy, as well as our influence in the world by his executive orders and the target that he has painted on the back of energy.
I get the turn there, and let's be frank, but clearly Biden's policies have united Republicans in voting against, for instance, stimulus. I'm just asking you, is the president attacking, today he's talking about Republicans in name only. He's primarying a number of Republicans who voted against him, voted to impeach. Does that help unite the Republican Party?
We're going to be united in 2022. We're going to continue to work together and continue to try to stop some of these policies that all of us believe are bad for the country.
Senator John Barrasso, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Jim.